In this tutorial, we will be creating the upper die pressure ring from the button maker project. I want to begin by creating the cylinder. So we know that the cylinder has some diameters here. We have a diameter of 3.0625, and then there's a smaller cutaway of 2.0625 that has a depth cut of a very small amount on it of 0.031. And so I'm going to begin by creating that. In Inventor, I'll create a new sketch. I'll go ahead and build it on the XY plane, and because it's a cylinder, I just want to make sure that my center point is the center origin here. That'll save me a lot of trouble later on usually. And I'll begin with 3.0625. And you'll notice that it only goes to 3 decimal places by default in Inventor. The number is correct. It is to 4 decimal places in here. It just rounds it up for you visually here. You can change that if you come here into Tools and then choose your Document Settings, and then you can come over here to Units and say that, say for your precision, you want to go to 4 decimal places here. And then when I apply this, now it'll show me it to the correct number of decimal places. So that's something that can be nice to do. I'll finish the sketch and extrude that, and I'll extrude this one 0.3125, and then I'm going to build this smaller and extrude that, the smaller cylinder here, and extrude that in. So I'll come here, same center point of 2.0625. and then I can extrude this with a cut here, and it's only got a depth of 0.031, and that gives me that correct depth cut. Now there's a couple of other things that I'll need to do in here. There's a fillet of 0.031 on the front and the back, so I'm going to come here and do fillet, and I've got right here 0.031. Do that again. I've got a fillet here and here, and that should be good for the cylinder itself. Now I need to start building these extrusions that are all the way around. This one, these are equally 120 degrees from each other, so all I need to do is build one and then use a circular pattern to make a pattern of the feature of the other one. So let's begin with that one. I know a couple of things about this. I know that it is on a vertical axis straight from the center point, and it's 1.3125 up from there. So I'll go ahead and build a new sketch here. Build a circle of some size right here, and the distance when I hit D and I dimension between the center circle and up here should be 1.3125. The diameter of this circle here will be 0.1875. And now I will extrude that from the back of this to where the fillet begins is 0.531. So if I take 0.531 and subtract the thickness of the cylinder of 0.3125, that gives me a distance from this edge to the center here of 0.2185. So I'm going to extrude this out 0.2185. Is that what I said? Yep. Okay. Then I've got that. Now, to build the extrusion on here, or the fillet on this, I need to extend this out a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and build a work plane right in the center of that. So I'm going to choose my work plane, and in my origins, that origin should already be there, the YZ plane origin. So I'm going to go ahead and create a work plane right in the center here, and then click on the edge of that work plane and create a new sketch on that. And I'm going to press F7. F7 allows me to do a cutaway, just a temporary one for the purposes of this. So now my work plane is cutting away there, and you can see what it does to show you that that material is gone. And now I can create, I'm going to project this thing, and I'll build a circle here. I know that circle starts here, and I'm assuming that it is got a diameter of 0.1875, just like that. Now I'm going to revolve this on the top, so I only need half of this circle, which should already be the right size because the center is here and I dragged it out to the edge of this. But if I just draw a line here, use the line tool to draw this, and then I can press X and trim the parts I don't need, and that should be fine. And now I can revolve this half of that shape around there. So I'll choose revolve. It already found that profile because that was the only one that was available, and my axis now, it's expecting me to give it the axis. So this red arrow represents information it needs, and the axis is going to be this center line here, and when I click OK, that should cap the top of that. Now I can't delete this work plane because it's needed to create that thing that I drew, but I can right click on it in the browser and say visibility off, and that's all I need to do for that. Now I know that there are two other ones of these. They are equidistant from each other. They're all 120 degrees around this center point, and that means that I can use a circular pattern here. I'm using a 3D feature circular pattern. The feature is both the cylinder and the revolve on the top. I need to make sure to select both of those. And the rotation axis is just any other circle. I can click on any other rounded surface that shares the same center point, which should be everything else. If I click on this now, that should share that same axis. I only need 3 of them, and 3 at 360 degrees will give me my 120 degree angles, and that is that part of it. Now I need to do basically the same thing on the back. There's a much farther away one. It is on the other side, but it is also along that vertical axis. It's vertically centered on the circle. So I'm going to go around on the back now, build a new one, and this one is down on this axis. It has a diameter of 0.25, and if I dimension from the center to the center of this circle, this distance should be 0.6875. That one will be extruded a distance of 0.875. And I once again have to cap that using the same process. And I should have my work plane. If I turn that visibility on again, that work plane should be the exact same work plane that I need. So I'm going to create a new sketch on that same work plane, hit F7 to cut away, use project geometry to get those edges again, and now I'll do the same thing. I'll find that center. Because I projected this line, I can find the center of it where that green dot is. I'll drag a circle out that's exactly the same diameter as this rectangle or the cylinder that's here. So I'll go all the way to the edge. I'll draw half of it again because I'm going to revolve it. And I don't really need to do this, but I'll go ahead and hit X and trim these again. And now I can revolve that profile around this axis, creating that other one. And then I can turn the visibility of the work plane off again. And the last thing I have here are 2 holes that are right down the middle. So I'm going to use the point tool to create the first hole. Finish that sketch, use hole. It is a through hole, so the distance is through all, and it has a diameter of 0.25. And then there's a second hole here that's just above that. It's above it 0.5, so I'll make another point. Make it 0.5 up from the center. And this one, I could have done an extrude with a cut on that other one, but this one is a countersink, and so it would be much easier to do this using the hole. So I choose hole, it finds that center point again, and now I want it to be a countersink. I already know the information about it. I'm told it through here. Everything after this countersink symbol is the geometry for the countersink, so it's got a diameter of 0.344 with an 82 degree angle, and then the rest of it is a 0.25 diameter hole that goes all the way through. So I'm just going to put here 0.344, it's 82 degrees already, and the rest of it is 0.25 through. I click OK. Oh, and I goofed up because the countersink is actually on the other side. So ignore that I did that. I'm going to delete this hole from there, and I just want to build it on this side instead. Would have been better if I'd done that in the first place, but I didn't catch it. So I'm going to do a point again. It is the opposite of this long extrusion there. So I want to make sure it's in the right place. It's 0.5 up. Now I'll do exactly the same thing, but now it'll be countersinking from the other side. So now that should be correct. I can look at it from both sides. And that is how you create the upper die pressure ring for the button maker.